Flick the fox loved to explore his forest neighborhood. One sunny afternoon, he visited his neighbor, Mrs. Owl, who owned a beautiful antique clock that chimed melodiously every hour. Flick couldn't resist touching it. While examining it, he accidentally knocked it over, and the clock shattered into pieces. Panicking, Flick ran out of Mrs. Owl's home and decided to blame the wind. It was a strong gust of wind that knocked it over, he told himself, hoping Mrs. Owl wouldn't suspect him. The next day, Mrs. Owl noticed her precious clock was broken. She was heartbroken. Flick felt a twinge of guilt but kept quiet. As days went by, his guilt grew heavier, and he couldn't sleep at night. Finally, Flick gathered his courage and went to Mrs. Owl. "I'm so sorry, Mrs. Owl," Flick confessed. "I broke your clock. I was too scared to tell you." Mrs. Owl looked at Flick kindly. "Thank you for telling the truth, Flick. Mistakes happen, but honesty is what truly matters." She forgave him, and together they tried to repair the clock. From that day on, Flick learned that telling the truth, even when it's hard, feels much better than hiding behind lies.